My name is Dr. Joy DeBow. I am a registered dietitian, and I do reside currently in Washington, D.C. in the United States. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you today, and especially during Public Health Week. I'm here to talk to you today about a growing health concern around the globe, as well as here in Bermuda. Obesity is a global issue. In the United States, which is the second most obese country in the world, current reports estimate 7 in 10 adults are overweight or obese. However, we also know that approximately 36% of adults are just obese. Over the past 3 decades, childhood obesity rates in America have tripled. Nearly 1 in 3 children in America are now overweight or obese. 1 in 3. And we define that by their body mass index. Overweight and obesity, as defined as abnormal or excessive fat accumulation, can really impair one's health. We typically classify being overweight or obese by, again, one's body mass index, which is really a mathematical ratio calculated as weight versus height in meters squared. It is used to describe an individual's relative weight for height, and it's significantly correlated with total body fat content. Now, here in Bermuda, you're facing similar obesity rates. According to the 2011 Health Survey of Adults, in Bermuda, nearly 7 in 10 adults are overweight or obese, with 1 in 3 being obese. In addition, according to the 2006 Health Survey for children, over 1/3 of your children ages 5 to 10 are overweight or obese. But these numbers really don't depict the full picture. The words overweight and obese, they really don't tell the true story. This isn't just about inches, pounds, or even how an adult or child looks. It's about how they feel and how they feel about themselves. It's about the impact that we're seeing on every aspect of their life. Keep in mind, obesity significantly raises one's risk of chronic diseases, including heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. In fact, obesity is the 5th leading cause of death globally. Medical doctors are now seeing kids with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and even type 2 diabetes, which actually used to only be seen in adults. Teachers see the teasing, the bullying, the school counselors are seeing the depression, the low self-esteem, and coaches are seeing kids struggling just to keep up or being left behind on the sidelines. Economic experts report we are spending extremely high amounts of money treating obesity-related conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. And public health experts tell us that current generation of children could actually be on track to have a shorter lifespan than their parents. It is paramount that we start to look at this and that the increased rates in being overweight or obese be halted and should be treated as a matter of urgency. The good news is this epidemic can be reversed. The benefits of consuming a healthy eating plan and engaging in regular physical activity can result in substantial reductions in not only the risk, but actually being overweight or obese, as well as the risk of developing these chronic diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, and some cancers. Bermuda, like many other countries, have experienced in the past few decades a change in dietary habits, which now includes more calorically rich, nutrient-poor foods. In addition, less physically demanding work and increasingly sedentary lifestyles have contributed to the increased obesity rates we are now seeing. The focus now needs to be on reversing these trends. None of us want this kind of future for the generations to come. So instead of just talking about this issue, we really need to act. Unfortunately, over the past few decades, it's become more difficult for many families and individuals to make these healthy choices. We know we have a lot of less time in today's fast-paced environment. In the United States, back in the 1980s, just 39% of married families had 2 working parents. But today, it's nearly 60%. Just 3 decades ago, The average employee worked 180 hours less each year than today's average employee. We now have a culture where we get too little sleep, too much caffeine, too little time to sit and enjoy a meal, and definitely not enough time to exercise. I'm sure many of you can relate to that. There simply aren't enough hours in the day to get everything done. Can anyone relate? Think about a trip to the grocery store. We often think that this is all about prepackaged foods. Many of us, include myself, don't exactly have the time to peruse the aisles, thoughtfully read nutrition labels. Going to the grocery store is now a race where along the way you're bombarded with complex nutrition labels, vague messages to eat healthy and make better choices without really even knowing what that means. It's important to note, though, that eating right or having a well-balanced eating plan, and no, I did not say diet, is really only half the equation. Physical activity must be part of our everyday lives. It is recommended that children get 60 minutes of physical activity every day. If this sounds like a lot, consider this. Kids today spend an average of 7.5 hours a day watching TV, playing with cell phones, computers, and video games. Talk about getting a little perspective. Only 1/4 of kids play outside each day. That's compared to 3/4 of kids just a generation ago. In fact, only 18% of high school students get the recommended 1 hour of physical activity every day. In the United States, and I would imagine also here in Bermuda, there's been cuts in recess and gym class, which means a lot less activity during the school day. And lunchtime may mean a school lunch that's not really balanced in calories or nutrients. For many kids, those afternoons spent riding bikes and playing ball have been replaced by afternoons sitting inside, watching TV, surfing the net, and playing video games. When children aren't active, we see the results in rising conditions of obesity and others conditions like diabetes that used to only be seen in adults and conditions that we now know are costly to treat. Simply put, our bodies are not built for sedentary lifestyle. Physical activity is critical, and it's critical for building healthy bones and muscles, critical for maintaining healthy blood pressure and cholesterol, and critical for controlling anxiety and stress. Families play a unique, important role for the health of their children. No one has a greater impact than parents. More than any of one of us, parents decide what their kids eat and how active they are every single day. It may not always be easy to have our kids eat healthier options, but that doesn't mean we ignore this important role of their health. We would never dream of letting our kids skip going to the doctor or going to school, and the same thing is true about eating healthy and being active. Parents can no longer take the approach, do as I say, not as I do. Parents serve as the best role models, particularly when it comes to their health. Research shows that kids who have at least one obese parent are more than 2 times as likely to be as obese as adults. So in other words, we as adults must also take care of our own health in order to take care of our children's health. It's really a family affair. Many parents want to do the right thing but feel helpless or think that it's out of their control. They're being bombarded by contradictory information and start to have a feeling that no matter what they do, it won't be enough or even correct. Remember, though, it's not about being 100% perfect or even 100% accurate. Even as a registered dietitian, I know I may make poor choices at times or like to splurge, and there is a place for fun and indulgent foods. But often, it's just about the balance, especially over the long haul. It's about small changes that can add up, like taking family walks, dancing in the living room together, replacing sugar-sweetened beverages with water, reducing portion sizes, things that really can make a difference. Obesity is a complex problem, and it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Instead, it's about our families making manageable changes that fit within their budget and schedules, as well as their preferences and tastes. So imagine walking into a grocery store here in Bermuda, and within a few seconds you're finding the healthiest options, clearly marked and ideally placed so that you know exactly what's best for your family. Imagine you opening up a menu in any restaurant and knowing exactly what items you will give your family that will provide the best nutrition. We need to build that environment where this is possible, an environment that is more supportive so that the healthy choice is the easy choice. This type of environment would include retail, including grocery and convenience stores, schools and child care settings, restaurants, and even faith-based communities. This is all about the information landscape as well as the environment that shapes our choices every day. And in order to combat obesity and begin to lower these rates, a social movement must begin. With more science-based information, responsible marketing, better labels and product placement, and greater access and affordability, we can build that environment to sustain a healthier lifestyle. And when Bermudian businesses step up, it's important for the public to applaud those efforts and encourage them to do even more, and also show our support by purchasing the healthier alternatives. We cannot solve this problem with any one commitment, but a concerted effort and commitment by all sectors. We can solve this problem with a constant flow of efforts that make real and meaningful changes. In order to tackle obesity, every one of us has a role to play, including the politicians, the healthcare providers, the businesses, the community groups, the educators, the athletes, and families. The Let's Move initiative in the United States, led by First Lady Michelle Obama, has really rallied the country to achieve a single ambitious goal of solving the problem of childhood obesity in a generation so that children born today will reach adulthood at a healthy weight. Let's Move has united the country around kids' health and has created real support for families to live healthier lives. Prior to launching the campaign, President Obama signed a presidential memorandum establishing the first ever government-wide task force on childhood obesity. The task force was composed of representatives from key agencies who reviewed every program and policy relating to child nutrition and physical activity. They then developed an action plan to meet that goal. Modest but critical investments in the short run were made in the United States, but we know this is an investment into our future. It's not about just keeping kids healthy when they're young, but rather teaching them habits to keep them healthy their entire lives. Let's Move has resulted in major food manufacturers cutting calories, sugar, salt, and unhealthy fats from their products. Restaurants are revamping kids' menus and adult menus and providing healthier options. Companies like in the United States, Walgreens, Super Value, and Walmart are committed to building new stores and selling fresh food. Congress actually even passed historical legislation to provide more nutritious school meals to millions of children in America. Schools are growing gardens, and cities and towns are opening up farmers markets. Congregations are holding summer nutrition programs for their kids. Parents are actually now reading the food labels and we're rethinking their meals and snacks they serve their kids. It truly has become a movement. So slowly but surely in the U.S., we're starting to see these rates of obesity either maintain and not increase as they have been, but even start to decline. In Mississippi, obesity rates among elementary school children have dropped 13%. And rates are also falling in cities like Philadelphia, New York, and the state of California. Also, new research released this past month indicates rates of obesity among young children ages 2 to 5 have declined in the last decade, dropping from close to 14% to 8.5% of this specific age group. Let's Move has really inspired leaders from every sector to take ownership of this issue. This broad and inclusive engagement will continue to ensure success in lowering the rates across the United States. In the end, we know that solving obesity here in Bermuda will be a challenge, and it will not be easy. And it certainly will not be quick, but it can be done. It won't be solved by government alone, or by businesses alone, or even by communities alone. It truly is a concerted effort. Bermudians are going to have to step up, all of you. Find a way to do your part. This is a call to action. At the end of the day, these are decisions that need to be made by each parish. Get involved. Talk to your community leaders. Get connected with nonprofit organizations and foundations that are working on this issue. When people really truly understand the threat of childhood obesity and what risk it poses to our children's future, and that we can address it, people step up. Every single one of us has a role to play. It's about each of us taking responsibility, making a difference however we can. We need to ask ourselves, what more can I do to help reverse the rates of obesity? What more can I do to encourage children to lead healthier, active lives? How can you invest, innovate, and inspire this action? And like anything that has a meaningful impact and effect, this is not going to be easy, and it will not happen overnight or even within a year. It truly will take a commitment, but one that will unfold over this generation and ultimately impact generations to come. You can make a difference here in Bermuda and create a legacy that will last long after you are gone. Are you willing to take the challenge to build a healthier Bermuda?